Now I'm gonna play this next clip because this to me is defining. And before we get into his record, which we're going to, I just need y'all to hear this man because he wants to be your president. And I'm not counting him out because that would be foolish to do that because there are machines in place. You know, Trump may be in jail by the time it happens. They are going to be looking far, far and wide, just like they snatched up Michael Steele and was like, oh, you got Obama? We gonna get a black person. And I like Michael Steele. He's a friend. I'm just saying, we used, and you know that though. So we had that conversation later. All right, let's play clip 2.
By the time I was a freshman in high school, I wasn't doing very well. As he said, I failed 4 subjects: Spanish and English, world geography, and civics. Now, for those of you not familiar with civics, civics is the study of politics. I will say this, though. I'll say this. Hey, hallelujah. Yes. I'll say this, though. I'll say this. After 10 years in the Senate, I am not the only one failing civics in the nation's capital. I'm not the only one failing civics in America's capital.
Shout out to Clay Kane, who does a masterful job on these airwaves on 126 rolling down the Urban View River. But I'm gonna have a minute today. Thank you, sir. You've done all of the things. Tim Scott said that he failed 4 subjects in high school. Spanish, okay. English, which means reading and writing's not. That's all. I'm an English major, right? I mean, most lawyers also.
Okay. Absolutely.
Most lawyers, because I was going to go to law school, and then I was like, do I feel like doing another couple of years in the LSATs and studying? No, I'm out here. I'm gonna go make some money. That's what I'm gonna do. But reading and writing are the foundations of law and all. You got to be able to read for comprehension and then dissect and break down things and be able to argue and articulate somebody else's thoughts, whether it's poetry. Like, English is everything. I love it, which means he doesn't read or write very well. He failed those 2. World geography. I don't know about you, Ms. Davis.
That scares me.
Being president of the United States is more about being a statesman for the entire world, which means you need to know where countries are and who's running and what they do and the GDP.
I don't want him to be over foreign affairs. I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned.
Yeah. But he said this willingly, and we're gonna get this in civics. He failed 4 topics in high school subjects, including English, geography, world geography, and civics. I'm going to say this because Ron DeSantis is playing the same thing. What does it say about candidates that are playing dumb to gain a constituency, to let people know I'm just like you? But basically what they're saying is you're dumb. So I'm going to tell you that I'm dumb too, so that you can feel comfortable with me. I'm going to, Ron DeSantis, I'm going to break it, even though he's got a degree from Harvard and Yale, but I'm going to all shucks you, the guy, Pat Kennedy. I'm going to sound like Foghorn Leghorn, so you can feel comfortable with me because I'm just like you, because I'm going to make sure you don't have health care or none of the things, but you're going to feel comfortable having a beer with me because I'm just dumb as hell. And that's just, you don't want nobody too smart in office because then they're going to make you feel bad about yourself and make your children want to do things like learn, and we can't have people learning out here because then this is going to be like the country. We're not going to be able to govern. What does it say about a country that is like 80 million people will vote for somebody that is absolutely illiterate, maybe not have read a book ever? What does it say about it?
I will tell you, it breaks my heart. I will also tell you, especially leading an institution that is for education, medical education in particular, it is incredibly disheartening, but it makes so much sense, right? So, and I'm going to say this next part, not on behalf of my organization, but speaking for myself, but we have seen this before, right? Do you recall that when McCain was running against Obama, that people said, well, at least McCain was a C student? Right? They didn't like that Obama was an A student. They liked the fact that McCain was a C student, right? Because they felt like they could identify more with that. What they really wanted, what the masses want, is not for anyone to evidence to them, right, that they could have been more, that there is something to strive for. Anything that makes people feel badly about themselves, they automatically reject, right? So we are watching literally this play out in real time. And then, Trump said it too, right? Way back when he said, if I ever ran for office, I would run as a Republican because that's right. The rest of the quote, right? So as a result of that, we are just seeing the fact that these folks have read from the playbook. It worked for Trump. He did exactly what he said he would do. He said, I would run as a Republican because they're stupid and they'll believe anything you tell them. He did exactly that, and he won, and is still the front runner in front of DeSantis by 30 points, right? See, now you're making me pull out my old lobbyist hat. I'm getting back into government.
Let's go.
I will tell you this. I was watching my dear friend Cory Booker, who I've known for years and years and years, last night on the weekend on MSNBC, and he said, when they asked him about Tim Scott, he said, listen, he is a friend, and I think that he will be underestimated, right? So I think that is super interesting, especially given the fact that, and I love my friend, given the fact that we also just saw on Mother's Day, of all days, on Mother's Day, we just had a white nationalist parade, right? March on the Capitol. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to watch that, because although when Michael Steele was in charge of the RNC, right, it wasn't as completely blatant upfront, showing up first thing before you have your coffee and your breakfast with the white supremacist hat on it. And listen, don't get me wrong, that stuff is real, right? They came for me 2018. I had my death threats, everything else for doing health equity work. So I tell them
they threaten you for wanting people to have health? Everyone?
Listen, right, because I said everybody. Because I said everybody.
Hold on. They threatened to kill you. I just need to understand this.
I walked around with armed guards for 10
Pause
months.
for a second, because I need to sit with this. Michellene Davis is here, y'all. And we're going to talk about health equity, because I actually brought on to see, how much we can have conversations, because this needs to be a continuum. I hate the notion of coming to promote things, whether it's books or whatever. It's like you could do that anywhere. If you come into the Karen Hunter show, you best to be ready to talk. So we're gonna talk, because we need to fix some things. We need all of the brilliance in the world. So you are out here trying to get equity around healthcare for everyone. Health. So how does a death threat show up for someone who's just doing that work, which seems really agnostic?
Because I talk about it in real terms, right? So I can't talk about health equity without talking about the weathering of racism. I can't talk about the weathering of racism without talking about the things that weather us in racism. That means I can't talk about it without not just talking about systemic or structural, which allows people to be able to subjugate it. But then I talked about police brutality and the weathering of consistently watching a body that looks like yours over and over again be brutalized by police. So they came for me. Listen, the truth of the matter is, and then a year later, everybody was taken into the streets. And I was like, I'm sorry, what you say? What was that?
Oh, this was before George Floyd?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, this was like 2018. I was 2 years before the lynching of Brother Floyd.
And they wanted to kill you because they threatened to kill you because
I would speak, because I spoke out about it. They threatened to, and this was the same year, by the way, that UPenn released a study that evidenced the fact that African Americans suffer upwards of 3 poor mental health days for 3 months after any kind of police brutality incident, regardless of proximity to the location. So if it happens in Rice, Texas, we feel it in Albany, New York, right? If it happens in San Diego, we feel it down in Dallas, Texas, right? And we feel the same weathering, that heightened chronic stress that most folks have an opportunity to have it as fight or flight, but because we never get 3 months without another killing, right? It never lets up. So, and it was the same time the Advancement Project put out their work on We Came to Learn, which is about policing in schools and why it was created in order to, right, watch and stop Black Panthers from recruiting youth. So nevertheless, what is really interesting was, yes, they came for me in that way. When I was being inducted to the New Jersey Business Hall of Fame, they were going to take me out. I had snipers up on the rooftop to protect me. So grateful to the state police and the New Brunswick Police Department, Tony Caputo. But I will tell you that I never stopped talking about it, because if I wasn't talking about it and talking about it correctly, then they would have never come for me.